In a world where power is measured by wealth and status, there are still stories that remind us how kindness and resilience can rewrite the rules. Imagine this: a young girl, mocked and dismissed as worthless because of her humble beginnings, finds herself standing at the crossroads of destiny. She's an orphan who has known hunger, just the kind that comes from lack of food, but the gnawing emptiness of being invisible in a society obsessed with perfection. And then, on one fateful day, she meets someone whose life couldn't be more different than hers, an heiress, burdened by privilege, plagued by an illness no doctor could cure, and trapped in a body she despises. What happens next will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about worth, compassion, and the magic hidden in the simplest things. The story begins in a bustling city where skyscrapers pierce the clouds, their glass facades reflecting both dreams and despair. Among the masses is our protagonist, a girl named Lynn. Her clothes are worn, her shoes patched up, and her hair tied back with a frayed ribbon. To most people, she's nothing more than trash, a face they step over without a second glance. Yet, beneath her quiet demeanor lies a strength forged through years of hardship. Every night, she sleeps under leaky roofs or in abandoned corners, clutching a small notebook filled with recipes scribbled down from memories of her late mother. Food is her only solace, not because it satisfies her stomach, but because it reminds her of love when the world feels cold. But even food isn't always guaranteed for Lynn, so when she manages to scrape together enough coins to buy a single serving of noodles, it's nothing short of a miracle. On the other side of town lives Evelyn, the heiress whose name graces billboards and magazine covers. Born into unimaginable wealth, she seems to have everything anyone could ever want except happiness. For years, Evelyn has struggled with anorexia, a silent battle that consumes her every waking moment. Doctors, therapists, and specialists have tried and failed to help her regain control of her life. Her family, desperate and out of options, has turned to unconventional methods, including hiring healers and mystics from around the globe. None of them succeeded. Meanwhile, Evelyn grows thinner, weaker, and increasingly detached from reality. The pressure to maintain her image as the perfect daughter weighs heavily on her fragile frame, until one day she collapses during a high-profile event. It's a public spectacle that shocks everyone, including Lynn, who watches the news unfold while sipping her precious bowl of noodles. Fate, however, has a way of intertwining lives in the most unexpected ways. A few days after Evelyn's collapse, Lynn stumbles upon an opportunity that changes everything. Desperate to earn some money, she takes up a temporary job at a cafe frequented by the elite. It's here that Evelyn walks in, looking pale and frail, accompanied by her stern-looking father. No one dares approach her, fearing they might say the wrong thing. But Lynn, driven by curiosity and empathy, decides to take a chance. She offers Evelyn a steaming bowl of homemade noodles, prepared with care and seasoned with herbs she learned about from her mother's notes. At first, Evelyn hesitates, unsure if she can trust this stranger or the strange aroma wafting from the bowl. But something about Lynn's sincerity compels her to take a bite, and that single bite becomes the turning point in both their lives. What follows is nothing short of extraordinary. As Evelyn savors the noodles, she feels a warmth spread through her chest, something she hasn't experienced in years. The flavors awaken not just her taste buds, but also buried emotions she had long suppressed. Days later, she notices subtle changes in her appetite and energy levels. Word spreads quickly among her inner circle, and soon whispers of a miracle noodle begin to circulate. People start asking questions. Who is this mysterious girl? What secret ingredient does she use? Is it really possible that something so simple could heal what modern medicine couldn't? As interest grows, so does the attention on Lynn. Suddenly, she's thrust into a world she never imagined, a world of CEOs, influencers, and celebrities, all vying for her attention. Each of them wants a piece of her magic, hoping it will solve their own problems. Some come seeking cures for ailments, others for beauty secrets, and a few simply to bask in the glow of her newfound fame. But amidst the chaos, Lynn remains grounded, aware that her gift isn't just about noodles, it's about connection, understanding, and the belief that everyone deserves a chance to be seen. Still, navigating this new reality isn't easy. With each passing day, Lynn faces challenges that test her resolve and force her to confront her own insecurities. Meanwhile, Evelyn undergoes a transformation that goes beyond physical recovery. As she regains her strength, she starts seeing the world and herself through fresh eyes. For the first time, she realizes how lonely she's been, surrounded by people who care more about her title than her well-being. Lynn's friendship becomes a lifeline, offering her a glimpse of authenticity she's never known before. But their bond is far from smooth sailing. Old habits die hard, and Evelyn's past mistakes threaten to unravel the progress she's made. Will she find the courage to break free from the chains of expectation, or will she succumb to the pressures that once defined her? As the story unfolds, we're left wondering, what exactly makes Lynn's noodles so special? Is it the ingredients, the technique, or something deeper, reflection of her spirit? And what happens when powerful men and women, used to getting whatever they want, discover that true healing can't be bought? The tension builds as alliances form and rivalries ignite, setting the stage for a showdown that will determine whether Lynn's kindness can withstand the greed and ambition swirling around her. Just when it seems like Lynn might finally catch a break, a shocking revelation threatens to shatter everything she's worked for. Someone close to her harbors a secret that could destroy her reputation and undo all the good she's done. Who is behind this betrayal? And why would they risk ruining someone who only wanted to help? As the truth begins to surface, Lynn must decide how far she's willing to go to protect not just herself, but the people she cares about. But before we dive deeper into these twists and turns, let's pause for a moment and reflect on what brought us here. From a humble bowl of noodles to a phenomenon sweeping the nation, this tale reminds us that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can spark the biggest changes. Yet, as we'll soon see, not everyone plays fair, and not every hero gets the happy ending they deserve, at least not right away. So stay tuned, because the journey is far from over. What happens next will challenge everything Lynn believes in and reveal just how powerful or dangerous our single act of compassion can truly be. To understand how Lynn ended up in this whirlwind of fame and intrigue, we need to go back to her childhood, a time when life wasn't just hard, it was cruel. Orphaned at the age of 7 after a fire destroyed her family's tiny home, Lynn grew up bouncing between foster homes that barely cared for her. She learned early on that kindness was rare and trust even rarer. Her only solace came from memories of her mother, who had always found joy in cooking, even with meager ingredients. Her mother could create meals that felt like hugs. Those moments stayed with Lynn, becoming her anchor in a world that often treated her like she didn't matter. Years later, as an adult scraping by on odd jobs, Lynn clung to those memories. The notebook filled with recipes became more than just a collection of instructions. It was a piece of her mother, a reminder that love could survive even the harshest circumstances. When she made noodles for Evelyn that fateful day, it wasn't just about feeding someone hungry. It was about sharing a part of herself. What neither of them realized then was how deeply intertwined their lives would become, and how dangerous that connection might prove to be. Evelyn's recovery brought attention not only to Lynn but also to the cafe where she worked. Soon, wealthy patrons began flocking there, hoping to catch a glimpse of the miracle noodle girl. At first, Lynn tried to ignore the growing buzz, focusing instead on perfecting her craft. But avoiding the spotlight became impossible once photos of her went viral online. Comments poured in, some praising her talent, others mocking her appearance, or questioning her motives. One particularly nasty comment read, "She's just using this poor heiress to climb the social ladder." It stung because, deep down, Lynn feared people might believe it. After all, hadn't she spent most of her life being told she wasn't good enough? The pressure mounted when Evelyn's father, Mr. Caldwell, stepped in. A towering figure in the business world, he saw potential not in Lynn herself, but in what she represented, a marketing goldmine. He offered her a deal, exclusive rights to market her noodles under his company's brand in exchange for financial security. To anyone else, it might have sounded like a dream come true. But Lynn hesitated. Something about the offer felt off, as if signing away her recipe would mean losing a piece of her soul. Still, refusing him outright seemed reckless. She needed time to think, though time was the one thing she didn't have. Meanwhile, Evelyn wrestled with her own demons. Though physically stronger, emotionally she remained fragile. Old insecurities resurfaced. Whenever reporters asked intrusive questions about her weight or speculated about her relationship with Lynn, rumors swirled that Lynn was manipulating her for money, while others whispered that Evelyn was clinging to Lynn out of guilt over her privileged upbringing. Neither narrative was true, but both cut deeply. Their friendship, once a source of healing, now felt like a battleground. Evelyn started pulling away, unsure whether distancing herself would protect Lynn or herself. Amidst this chaos, another subplot emerged. The identity of the person trying to sabotage Lynn. Suspicion fell on Marcus, a rival chef who had been working at the same cafe before Lynn arrived. Once the star employee, Marcus watched bitterly as Lynn stole the spotlight. He began spreading rumors, planting seeds of doubt among customers and staff alike. "Her noodles aren't special," he'd mutter to anyone who'd listen. "It's all hype." But his words carried weight because they tapped into something darker, the fear that maybe Lynn's success wasn't deserved, that perhaps she was just lucky. Things escalated when Marcus anonymously tipped off a tabloid, claiming Lynn used illegal herbs in her noodles. Overnight, headlines screamed accusations of fraud, forcing health inspectors to descend on the cafe. For days, Lynn endured scrutiny, her every move dissected. Though tests eventually cleared her, the damage was done. Sales plummeted, and the cafe owner blamed Lynn, threatening to fire her unless she agreed to sign with Melt. Just as Lynn thought things couldn't get worse, a shocking twist changed everything. Evelyn, who had been distant for weeks, showed up at the cafe unannounced. Her face was pale but determined. She handed Lynn a folder filled with documents evidence that Marcus wasn't just spreading rumors. He'd been secretly sabotaging her work from the start. It turned out Evelyn hadn't abandoned their friendship after all. Instead, she'd hired a private investigator to dig into the accusations against Lynn. The truth came to light. Marcus had tampered with some of Lynn's ingredients, hoping to ruin her reputation and reclaim his spotlight. With this revelation, the tide began to turn. Evelyn stood by Lynn publicly, calling out Marcus during a press conference organized by her father's company. "This isn't about noodles," Evelyn declared, her voice steady despite the cameras flashing around them. "It's about integrity. Lynn didn't just heal me with her food. She reminded me what it means to trust and be trusted. And if you think we're going to let lies destroy that, you don't know us at all." The moment was electric, a rare glimpse of authenticity in a world obsessed with appearances. Marcus was fired, and though the scandal left scars, it also solidified Lynn and Evelyn's bond. But the real test came when Mr. Caldwell made one final offer. He wanted Lynn to mass-produce her noodles under his brand, promising her wealth beyond imagination. This time, however, Lynn didn't hesitate. She declined not because she didn't need the money, but because she realized her gift wasn't meant to be boxed and sold. "My mother taught me that food is more than sustenance," she explained to Evelyn later. "It's connection. If I give that away, I lose myself." Instead, she proposed something radical, opening her own small restaurant, where people could come not just for noodles but for stories, warmth, and community. To everyone's surprise, Evelyn offered to fund it, insisting it was the least she could do after everything Lynn had done for her. The restaurant became a sensation, not because of flashy marketing or celebrity endorsements, but because of its heart. Word spread quickly about the cozy little place run by an orphan turned chef, whose kindness touched every customer. CEOs, influencers, and ordinary folks lined up daily, not just for the legendary noodles, but for the chance to meet Lynn herself. Each bowl carried a piece of her journey, a reminder that even in a world driven by power and profit, there's still room for compassion. As for Evelyn, she underwent a transformation no one saw coming. Inspired by Lynn's courage, she stepped away from the rigid expectations placed on her by her family and forged her own path. She started a foundation dedicated to helping young women struggling with eating disorders, using her platform to amplify voices often ignored. Together, she and Lynn proved that healing wasn't just personal, it was collective in the end. The story wasn't just about noodles or fame or betrayal. It was about resilience, the kind that comes from knowing your worth, even when the world tries to tell you otherwise. Lynn's journey reminded everyone who crossed her path that true magic lies not in grand gestures, but in the quiet acts of love and bravery we choose every day. And while life would never be perfect for Lynn, Evelyn, or anyone else, didn't have to be. What mattered most was the connections they built along the way, nourished by trust, humility, and yes, maybe even a bowl of noodles. So the next time you sit down to eat, take a moment to savor not just the flavors, but the stories behind them. Because sometimes the simplest things hold the deepest truths. And who knows, maybe you'll find a little bit of Lynn's magic in your own life, too.